This is a special MSG Networks presentation of the Mike Sullivan introduction as the next head coach of the Rangers, presented by Chase. Only 19 men in NHL history have lifted the Stanley Cup more than once as a head coach. Mike Sullivan is the only American-born coach on that list. And after a legacy decade in Pittsburgh, Sullivan's new work address is Madison Square Garden, where the goal is the same and the mission is mid-June. Hi, everyone. Welcome inside our Delta MSG studios for a special day for the New York Rangers. I'm John Giannone. 6 days ago, President and General Manager Chris Drury took the first step in stepping beyond this most disappointing season when he hired Mike Sullivan to be the 38th head coach in Rangers history and the fourth in 6 seasons. The 58-year-old Sullivan joined Toe Blake in 2017 as the only coaches to win cups in each of their first 2 seasons with a team. He's nearing 1,000 games and 500 wins behind the bench after becoming the most successful coach in Penguins history. Sullivan brings a Rangers pedigree to the position now. Drafted by the team in 1987 and, of course, John Tortorella's assistant for 319 games as a Rangers coach back about a decade or more ago. So now Mike Sullivan will become the 38th head coach in Rangers history, and he will take over a team that certainly had myriad issues during this past season, a team that failed to make the playoffs for the 4th time in the last 8 years. And a look in now as Mike Sullivan is about to take the podium alongside President and General Manager Chris Drury at the MSG Training Center in Westchester, where is a pulse in that building. Knicks preparing for Game 3 of their second-round series after winning 2 in Boston, and where a Boston native will be the head coach. Here is Chris Drury.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today, and welcome. Certainly a very exciting day for the entire New York Rangers organization and all our fans, and a great day for Mike and Kate Sullivan and all their extended family in Massachusetts. As I said in last week's press release, I truly believe Mike's a premier coach in the National Hockey League. His resume, both in the NHL and international play, speaks for itself. The second Mike was available, we quickly and aggressively pursued him, and we're certainly thrilled that that pursuit led us to this moment today. There's a lot of work to be done, and I'm very excited to be partnering with Mike as we collectively try to achieve our goals here in New York. With that said, Mike, it's my honor to welcome, congratulate, and introduce the New York Rangers head coach, Mike Sullivan.
Oh, lift it up a little bit, Drew.
Sorry. Let's turn it around.
Good. Okay. Thanks, Drew. Welcome, everyone. Just wanted to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Dolan and Chris, first and foremost, for giving me this opportunity to be the head coach of such a storied franchise. I'd like to thank my wife, Kate, and my family for all their unwavering support through a difficult profession. I'm probably stating the obvious when I say that none of us get here alone, and my family means the world to me, and their support has been exceptional through this journey of mine. When I first started to talk to Drew about the prospect of being the head coach of the Rangers, it's hard not to get excited for a number of reasons. First and foremost, it's an incredible honor to be the head coach of such a storied franchise, an Original Six team, a team that has such deep history and such a passionate fan base. It's hard not to get excited about being the head coach of an organization like this. The second thing that came to mind is my familiarity, I guess, with the roster and the core group of players that have played here over the last number of years, and having been on an opposing team's bench and playing against the Rangers inside the division for all these years, I've grown a ton of respect for the players that are in that room and the talent that they have, and the opportunity to work with a group like that certainly excites me. And then the last thing I'll say is the opportunity to work with Drew. Chris and I have got to know one another over the last few years through a number of different endeavors, in particular the international events, whether it be the Olympic team build up before that got canceled, and then most recently the Four Nations experience that we had the privilege to work together with. And Chris and I have got to know one another through that process. I'm really excited about the opportunity to build a partnership with Chris. I'm really excited about potentially what we could build here moving forward that we could all be proud of. So for all those reasons, I couldn't be more excited to be the coach of the New York Rangers. I look forward to the challenges ahead. I know there's a lot of work to be done. We're going to do everything in our power to try to build the most competitive team we can.
Okay, we'll open up for Q&A. If you could just raise your hand, I'll call on you. Arthur in the back.
Mike, like you said, your familiarity with this group is pretty strong for someone coming in, playing against all these years, and coaching a few of these guys. What do you see in this roster, and how do you kind of start to go forward?
Well, I think they're a really talented group, and I think they've been knocking on the door to the Stanley Cup for a number of years now. You know, every time we've played against this group of players, they've been fierce. They've been fierce battles, and I've grown so much respect over the years for the talent that the Rangers have. I look forward to the opportunity to get to know some of these guys on a more personal level. I look forward to the opportunity to work with them both on the ice and off the ice, you know, to try to become the most competitive team that we can come and ultimately challenge for a Stanley Cup. I think that's why we're all in it. That's what drives us every day when we get up in the morning, and the possibility or the prospect of working with this group of players to try to accomplish something special is exciting.
Dan?
Mike, what change do you think you'll bring to this group? I mean, it's been a couple of coaches now that they've had here, and you know, they're coming off the season where they didn't like. So, what change do you think you'll bring?
Yeah, it's hard for me to comment, Dan. I think on you know, on what's evolved here in the past. It would probably be irresponsible for me because I wasn't here. So, you know, you don't really get to know groups, and this is just my own experience of coaching over the years in different organizations, unless you're there on a day-to-day basis and you understand some of the challenges behind the scenes in the locker room, things of that nature. So I can't really comment on what's evolved here in the past. All I can speak to, I guess, is what potentially that we could build here moving forward. And so, you know, my intention is to bring the experiences that I've learned through my time coaching in the NHL and some of the insights, you know, that I've gained over the years to this experience. You know, I know there's a lot of talent in the dressing room, but as we all know, talent alone doesn't win championships. Teams win championships, and I think that's going to be our challenge from day one is to become a team in a true sense of the word. That was the challenge that I think most organizations go through when they enter training camp every single year. We're no different in that regard. I've certainly had a lot of experiences over the years, you know, trying to meet that challenge. Have had some successes, have had some failures along the way, and you learn from all of them. And that's what I hope to bring to this experience here with the Rangers. But I'm excited about the possibility of becoming a competitive group.
What, Molly?
Mike, how do you feel like spending the last decade with the organization helps you for this job?
Well, I can, you know, I'm so appreciative for the opportunity that I was given in Pittsburgh and had you know, it was a real privilege to work with that group of players there and in that organization. We were able to accomplish a lot when we were there, and I'm so grateful for that opportunity that I was given there in Pittsburgh. you know, we also had we've had our fair share of disappointments over the years, and it's hard to win in this league, and so I think I just think that's part of it. I think, you know, having the ability to spend a decade with some of the people that I was able to work with there, some of the players that I was able to coach there, I just think you take so much from those types of experiences, and I hope to bring those experiences here to New York that can help me be a better coach for this group of players, that can help us be as competitive as we can. You know, we're going to try to push these guys every day to maximize the potential that exists here, and we'll see where that takes us. But that's what I hope to bring, and that I think is the takeaway from the 10 years that I spent in Pittsburgh.
Larry next.
You had, welcome back.
Thank you.
You had talked about a partnership with Chris. I'm wondering, is this a standard like coach GM relationship, or will you have a little bit more input into the personnel decisions?
Well, that's probably a better question for Chris, but you know, what I will tell you is Chris and I in this last week here, when this came together as quickly as it did, but one of the things we talked about was, you know, the importance of the relationship between him and I, and I can just go back to the experiences that I've had over the years, and my experience has told, you know, has certainly told me that relationship between the head coach and the general manager is really important, and I think it's important that we work together on that relationship so that we can share the same vision and work towards the same goals. And so I think, I can't speak for Chris, but I think he's excited about the possibility of what that partnership might look like, and I feel the same way. I'm every bit as excited.
Yeah, I can follow up with that. It's a great question, and Mike answered it, you know, perfectly. I know Dan in the past and others in this room are always asking, you know, about the lineup and who's the lineup card, and at the end of the day, that is the head coach's responsibility, and I certainly have no intention of sticking my nose in that. But with that said, there's constant communication, there's constant feedback back and forth. There are no, you know, transactions or trades or call-ups that management does without speaking with the head coach, and that's not going to change here. And in the other sense of that, I'm sure Mike's going to come to me and say, what do you think about this? I'm thinking about this with the lineup. I'm thinking about that with the power play. We're in constant communication. We already have been in this short week, and I think it's going to be a great partnership in the true sense of the word.
Peter?
You mentioned being excited about some of the personnel you get to work with. One of those guys is Adam Fox, who you coached at Four Nations. He's coming off kind of a year where his production was a little down. Maybe Four Nations didn't go the way you wanted. Just how are you feeling about him and his game going into a season of working with him and potentially the Olympics too?
Well, I think he's an elite player in this league. You know, his body of work certainly suggests that. You know, he's still a young guy. He already has a Norris Trophy in his trophy case. I think he's one of the elite defensemen in this league. I look forward to the opportunity of working with Adam. I think, you know, when the experience that we had at the Four Nations, I got to know him a little bit better. I got to know all those guys a little bit better, and I look forward to building that relationship with him. But I don't think there's any doubt that Adam is an elite player in this league, and we're going to push him to try to be at his very best. You know, once again, I can only draw on my own experiences, and I think that's an essential part of coaching is pushing these guys to challenge their comfort zones, and that's a daily endeavor. And that's what I hope to bring to some of the players here in New York, Adam being one of those guys. But I think he's an elite defenseman. He's one of the better power play defensemen in the league. I don't know that there are many that do a better job quarterbacking a power play than he does up top, with the deception that he has, his ability to scale the line or run the line. You know, the way he processes the game and thinks the game at such a high level. You know, the prospect of that certainly excites me.
We'll go to Vince.
Hey, Mike,
Vince Vergocchiano, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Just wanted to ask, Molly had touched a little bit on your time in Pittsburgh, but 10 years, long time in one place. So curious about your thoughts on maybe why it was time to part ways or what went into that decision. And then looking here, the adjustment, what will that be like for you? And how much do you think maybe it'll benefit you having a little bit of a fresh start?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to get into, the reasons, on why, we parted ways in Pittsburgh. I'm so appreciative for that opportunity that I had there, and so I'm grateful to everyone involved, most specifically the players there, who played extremely hard in the years that I was there. I think as far as what it offers for the opportunity here in New York is, I think as I talked about earlier, we had some successes there during my time, and I have that experience to draw on what that looks like, and I hope to bring that to this group here in New York. We also had disappointments. As I said, it's hard to win in this league, and it takes more than talent, and you guys know that group we had in Pittsburgh had a whole lot of talent, and we experienced both sides, and I think that's what makes our game is so great. Is there's more parity in this league than there's ever been, and the Stanley Cup is for all intents and purposes is anybody's trophy. You got to go out and earn it, and that for me is what I'm excited about with this group here in New York. As I say to the players all the time, nothing is inevitable in this game. You got to go out and earn it every day, and that's what we're going to do. That's what the expectation is going to be, is we're going to earn it every day through our actions, and that was something that I learned certainly when I was in Pittsburgh the 10 years I was there.
Go to Fuchs.
Mike, what's going to be your emotions when you coach at the Garden as now the head coach in front of that fan base?
Well, I can only anticipate. I've had the privilege of coaching here as an assistant coach, as you guys know, 15 years ago. And I've had the privilege of coaching here as an opposing team in Madison Square Garden. We played these guys in the playoffs a few years ago, and I don't know that there's a more electric building in the league than Madison Square Garden. It really is a privilege to play in that building, regardless of which bench you're on. But I can only anticipate what it would be like to be behind the Rangers bench as the head coach. It's an incredible honor. This is one of the more passionate fan bases in the league, and I look forward to that moment.
Molly?
Just wanted to gauge your philosophy on managing young talent in this league. Do you feel like they need top 6 minutes, power play minutes, or a different type of approach?
I think that it really is an individual. It's an individualized process. I don't think you can paint every player with the same brush. Everyone's different. Part of coaching, or the art of coaching, I guess, is trying to figure out what that daily recipe is that's best for the player. And sometimes it's time in the American League as a young player. Sometimes it's it's time in the National League, depending on the types of minutes that player can play. What I will tell you is that I think it's important that every player earns their opportunities, that that no one's entitled to an opportunity. I will tell you that as a coaching staff, we'll make the best decisions we can to try to help each player be at their very best, and most importantly, help the New York Rangers win. And so, and once again, we had a number of experiences with young players during my time in Pittsburgh. The first year we won the Stanley Cup, we had 5 guys that I coached in Wilkes-Barre that year that were part of the rookie team in London at the beginning of the season, and they had their names on the Stanley Cup at the end of the year. Connor Sheary, Brian Rust, Tommy Kuhnackel, Scott Wilson, Matt Murray, all these young guys. We've had a number of them over the years, and I just think I think it's hard to paint them all with the same brush. I don't know that there's one approach that suits everybody. I think it's important that you take each individual, you get to know them, figure out what makes them tick, and then try to push the right buttons to get the best out of each guy.
Larry?
Would you prefer that this team had a captain next year, or is that discussion?
Yeah, I think that's a discussion that I'll have with Chris here moving forward. We haven't got that far, quite honestly. I think, we'll work through those challenges here over the next little while. What I will tell you is I've spoken to virtually every player on the roster in the last 3 days, just to introduce myself and let the players know how excited I am to be their coach. The one takeaway that I have from those conversations is I think there's a fair amount of leadership in that room. So whether you wear a letter or you don't wear a letter, leadership manifests itself in so many different ways. And I think there's a lot of character in that room just based on the initial conversations that I've had with these guys. Chris and I will work through some of those challenges moving forward.
Time for two more. Neil?
For Chris, you mentioned the importance of the relationship between the GM and the coach, which I assume is always important. But do you think, given the history and the fact this is kind of the guy you wanted, that has a chance to be even better just because of the nature of your relationship?
Yes, I do, and I would say it was never poor with other coaches, but going back to '97, I think it was, we played together in the World Championships, and I was reminiscing with Mike about it. I remember I think I was a junior at BU, and I'm sitting in the second or third seat on the bus, and scared out of my mind. We're in Finland or something. Am I good enough to be here? Should I be here? I'm in college, and on comes Mike Sullivan and sits down next to me and spends the hour bus ride to the rink, with me and talking to me about my life at BU and what my goals are. And so to me, that's a little bit of a sense of what I've thought of him for a long time, and certainly getting to play for him here. As an assistant coach, and then working with him, as he mentioned, in the international events the last couple of years. It's already a great relationship, and I think it's only going to get better each and every day.
Last one, Dan?
Mike, you brought up before that, you don't get to know a team until you're in the coaching. You coached a number of four of these guys who were a big part of the core at the Four Nations, and it's a short tournament, and I understand you got a lot of other players too. But in the process of scouting, in the process of getting to know them, the tournament, what did you learn about Adam, Chris, and Trocheck and JT? Because that's a huge, as of right now, a big part of your core.
What I learned is that they're fierce competitors, and they have an insatiable appetite to win. And all you need to do is watch that tournament, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. But it was a great experience, that Four Nations experience. It was a great opportunity for me to get to know some of the players, like the guys here in New York that you're talking about. But that's what I learned about those four guys in particular. That they're fierce competitors. They want to win in the worst way, and those are the types of guys that I get excited about working with.
If I could just add one more thing. As I mentioned, as quickly and as aggressively as I wanted to act, and it takes two to put a deal like this together. And I just want to mention Mike's agent, Neil Glassberg, who's actually in the room today. And, again, we moved very quickly on this, and I was very happy and grateful for your attentiveness to this contract and getting things done so quickly with Mike. So just appreciate that, Neil. Thank you very much. So.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike.